My family called me a useless old man, but at that lunch I turned the game. Dad, you don't understand anything about business. Stop guessing and be quiet there in your corner. The words of my own son cut my soul like a razor. There, that family lunch Sunday, sitting at the table that I bought myself with the sweat of my face, I was being treated like a hindrance, like an useless old man who served for nothing more. The plate of food cooled in front of me. My hand trembled holding the fork. It was not tremor of old age. It was my 58 years of life being shattered by the people I loved most in the world. It's really Vo, said my 16-year-old, without even lifting his cell phone. The Lord is a little outdated, right? These things today are different. You don't even know how to move right on WhatsApp. She didn't even realize how those words hurt me. This girl I searched for school for years when her parents were working. This girl who slept on my lap when she had nightmares. Now I treated me like I was a dinosaur. My daughter-in-law, Patricia, smiled cruelly as she cut the meat on her plate. That smile I knew well. The same smile she gave when she told her friends, "Look, you're John. With all due respect, but the Lord has done his part in life. Now it's time to let young people touch things, right? The Lord deserves rest. Rest. As if I were an old horse who couldn't stand to pull the wagon anymore. I looked around that table, the solid wood table that I ordered myself when the company started to make the first profits. I remembered the day that brought this table home, proud, calling the whole family to see. Look, guys, now we have a real family table. And now, at this same table, I was being humiliated. Father, you no longer have a good head for these things, completed my son Marcos, the oldest, 35 years old. He didn't even look into my eyes as he spoke. The company is growing up. We are making some serious investments here. It's not something for you to worry. The company, our company, the construction company João Santos and Children, who myself found with my own calloused hands 20 years ago. The company that started with me making minor repairs on weekends, carrying bags of cement on the back, mixing pasta until the hands bleed. I remembered the first service, a small bathroom in Dona Maria's house, in the Esperanza neighborhood. She paid me 200 reais, but for me it was like 2 million. It was the beginning of a dream, the dream of giving dignity to my family. But guys, I tried to speak, the voice shaking. My throat was dry, the words were going to leave. I just wanted to understand where you got money to buy those 3 land in the city center. It's over 800,000 reais. Where did this money come from? I had seen the documents by chance when Gabriel forgot an open folder in the office. 3 huge land in the best point in town. The type of investment I had dreamed of for years, but we have never had enough capital. The silence that descended on the table was deafening. The noise of the cutlery stopped. Even the ceiling fan seemed to make less noise. My 30-year-old son Gabriel exchanged a quick look at Marcos, a look I knew since when they were children, the look of whom it was caught making art. Patricia stopped chewing and got the fork in the air, as if she had turned statue. Even my granddaughter dropped my cell phone for a second and looked at the uncles. "Dad, this is the company's things. You don't have to worry about it," said Gabriel, trying to keep his voice calm, but I noticed the nervousness. The vein of his neck was jumped, just like he lied in his childhood. "What do you mean I don't need to worry?" My voice came out louder than I wanted. I felt the neighbors of the house next to you can hear. "I'm a majority partner of the company. I have 51% of the quotas. Any decision of this magnitude should pass me. It has always been so since we registered the company on paper. I with 51%, Marcos with 30%, and Gabriel with 19%. I kept control because I knew my children. I knew they were ambitious, but I never thought they were that." It was then that Patricia released a laugh, a cold, calculating laugh that made me feel a shiver on my spine. It was the kind of laugh you hear on a horror movie when the villain is about to reveal his evil plan. "Oh, you? What a cute. Do you still think you have decision-making power in this company?" The blood froze in my veins. "What do you mean by that?" Marcos sighed and dropped the fork on the plate hard, making noise. "Father, I will be straightforward with you. We no longer want you in the company. You are hindering the growth of the business." Disturbing? I could barely believe her in what I was listening to. I felt as if I had punched my stomach. "I found this company. I built it all. You were kids when I started. I remembered them small, helping myself on weekends. Gabriel at the age of 10 carrying ladies in a can. Mark with 15, learning to use the drill. They look so proud of the bricklayer. The Lord has founded, yes. No one is denying that," said Marcos as if talking to a stubborn child. "But now you need to let your children play. You are already old, father. 58 years, walking with that cane because of the column problem, always complaining of pain. We think it would be better for the Lord to retire for good." The cane, 30-year result carrying weight, result of a lifetime breaking the body to give them comfort. And now they used my own pain against me, Gabriel added without a shred of emotion in his voice. "We can even give a little pension to the Lord. About 1,000 Rs a month, give you live quiet, buy your medicines, make your shopping, 1,000 Rs. 1,000 Rs for the man who built a business that today earned more than 200,000 per month. 1,000 Rs for those who had 51% of the company's quotas. 1,000 Rs, as if it were a alms. I looked at my granddaughter, waiting for her to at least seem uncomfortable with the cruelty of her uncles, but she was back on her cell phone, filming a little dance for TikTok. Did you go crazy? I got up from the chair, leaning on the cable. My left leg hurt more when I was nervous. You can't get me out of my own company. We can, yes, Patricia said, with a safety that froze my blood. She was enjoying it. I was delighting in my humiliation. In fact, technically, the Lord has already been taken. My heart stopped for a second. Like this? Marcos sighed again, as if explaining something obvious to a dumb child. That condescending tone I hated. Father, do you remember those roles you signed last month? When Gabriel said it was just to regularize things in the accountant, the world began to rotate. My heart fired. I remembered. It was on a Tuesday. Gabriel had arrived at home with a pile of papers, saying it was government bureaucracy that I needed to sign to keep the company regular with the IRS. It's boring thing, Dad, but you have to sign. If you don't sign, the company may have a problem with the tax authorities. I trusted my son. I signed everything without reading properly. My glasses were blurred. I was tired after a whole day in the construction site, and Gabriel looked so worried about the deadlines. Those papers, Gabriel smiled, but it wasn't a smile of son. It was a predator smile that just captured his prey. They were transfer documents from their quotas, Father. You transferred everything to us. We now have 90% of the company. You were only 10%. The world collapsed over my head. I had to support myself at the table so as not to fall. The room began to rotate. Did you deceive me? We didn't deceive anyone, Dad, said Gabriel, still smiling. The Lord who signed the papers. It's all cool. All right in the notary. The accountant is Patricia's cousin, completed Marcos. He did everything right. The Lord transferred his quotas freely and spontaneously. Hot tears descended down my face. They were not tears of sadness only. They were tears of anger, humiliation, a pain that I never thought I was going to feel. The pain of being betrayed by their own children. The pain of finding out that I had created monsters. Look how the old man is crying, said my granddaughter, filming with his cell phone. What drama, huh, Vo? I'll post on the story. Delete this footage now, I shouted, but my voice came out broken, defeated. I looked like a beggar begging for dignity. Calm down, Father, said Marcos, pretending worry, but I could see the pleasure in his eyes. The Lord will have nowhere to live. We will not leave the Lord on the street. There is that little room in the back of Gabriel's house. You can stay there. There is a bathroom on and everything. The little room in the back, like an aggregate, as a beggar in my own family, like an old dog that the family doesn't have the courage to sacrifice, but it doesn't want to at home either, and you won't even have to worry about light, water, these things, said Gabriel as if doing a huge favor. We pay everything. You just need to stay in yours quiet, as if I were a child who made art and now needed to be punished. You will see who you have moved, I said, trying to put some authority in the voice but leaving more as a despair. Patricia laughed. Oh, what fear. What are you going to do, you John, CIA? They will look at the documents signed by the Lord and send you home. Process us. With what money? You don't even have more access to the company's account. Each word was like a punch in the stomach. They had thought of everything. They had prepared a perfect trap, and I, like an idiot, had fallen with my eyes closed. I created you, I whispered, the voice leaving broken. I created you with so much love, so much affection. I worked 2-3 times a day to give you a dignified life. Remember when you were little? When Marcos wanted that red bike and I did 3 extra weekends to buy? When Gabriel got sick and I sold my only gold chain to pay the private hospital? For a second I saw a shadow pass on Gabriel's face, a memory, but soon she disappeared. And that's how you repay me? I continued, stealing my company, humiliating me in my own home? Dad, don't be dramatic, said Gabriel, but now avoiding my gaze. The Lord had a good life. Now it's our turn. The Lord should be glad we are continuing your work. Continuity to my work. They were stealing my life, and they still said it was for my good. I looked around that table. For the children I raised, for the daughter-in-law I received as a daughter, for the granddaughter I helped create. Everyone looked at me like I was a stranger, as if I were a problem to be solved. I got up slowly, backed by the cane. Each movement hurt, but physical pain was nothing compared to pain in the heart. My dignity was shattered, but I was still proud enough not to beg. Father, where do you go? Asked Marcos, and I detected a hint of genuine concern in the voice. Or maybe it was just afraid that the neighbors would find out what they had done. To the street, I answered without turning around, since it's where you think I deserve it. Don't be dramatic, Father. You know you have your little room at Gabriel. There's even a small television there. A small television. As if I were an indigent being contemplated with charity. I stopped at the door and turned one last time. I prefer to live under the bridge than to accept your crumbs. And that's when I saw it. On the nightstand of the room, under a pile of Patricia magazines, the tip of a yellow envelope was appearing. An envelope that I recognized immediately. An envelope they didn't know I had kept. An envelope that could change everything. My heart accelerated, maybe. Just maybe, I still had a letter in my sleeve. I made strength to keep the expression defeated on my face. I could not let the sudden hope that sprang into my chest. I left that house with a broken heart, limping in my cane but with a spark of hope burning in the chest, because they didn't know something. They did not know that 3 months ago I had gone to the registry to make a very special document, a document that could completely turn this game completely, a document that proved that I was not the useless old man they thought. 3 days passed since that damn lunch, and I couldn't get that scene out of my head. He was staying in a cheap hotel in the city center, spending the few reais he had in his wallet. Each morning I woke up in that smelly little room. Reality slapped me again. My own children had stolen me, but that yellow envelope didn't come out of my mind. I knew I had to go back to that house to get it, even if it meant swallowing my pride and facing those snakes again. On Thursday morning I decided to take courage. I called Gabriel. "Dad?" What a surprise. His voice sounded false, as if representing to someone. "How have you ever thought about our little room proposal?" "Gabriel, I need to look for some things from me in the house," I said, trying to keep my voice firm. "Clothes, personal documents, these things." "Of course, Father. The Lord can come whenever you want. The house is yours too," he said, and I almost vomited with so much hypocrisy. An hour later, I was at the door of the house that I built brick by brick myself. My hands trembled holding the key. Gabriel welcomed me with that fake smile that was giving me nausea. "Dad, I'm glad we were missing." Longing, as if they had not expelled me from home 3 days ago. I went slowly, supported by the cane. The house was different. They had changed some furniture from place, as if they were already erasing any trace of mine from there. "I'll just take some clothes in the room," I said. "Feel free, Father. I will make a coffee to you." While Gabriel went to the kitchen, I quickly headed to the living room. My heart was hitting so hard that I thought he would go out of his mouth. The nightstand was in the same place. The magazines were organized. Had they found the envelope? With the utmost care, I pushed the magazines away. My hand trembled when I found the edge of the yellow envelope. It was still there. Quickly, I stuck the envelope inside the shirt and replaced the magazines in place. "Dad, the coffee is ready," shouted Gabriel from the kitchen. "I'm going, son." In the room, while pretending to choose clothes, I opened the envelope carefully. My eyes filled with tears when I saw the document. It was exactly what I remembered. My salvation. 3 months ago, I had gone to the registry to make a will, but not any will. A will that protected my company from any scam attempt. A document that made any transfer of quotas without my completely invalid notary's signature. The notary had explained to me, "You're John, with this document, even if someone forges his signature or deceives you, the transfer has no legal value. The company remains yours." I had done that because I suspected some strange movements I was realizing. Gabriel asking questions about company documents. Marcos always wanting to know financial details. My father's instinct had warned me that something wasn't right, and now I had proof that I was still the legitimate owner of the construction company. "Father, are you okay?" Gabriel appeared at the bedroom door. "Yes, son. Just remembering some things. Memories. They came like a flood." Gabriel at the age of 5, helping me paint the first house we renovated together. He had more paint on his body than on the wall, but he was so happy. "Dad, when I grow up, I'm going to work with the Lord. I'll be the best bricklayer in the world." How did that innocent boy become the man in front of me? The man who stole me and humiliated me. I also remembered Marcos. At 15, he was my right arm on weekends. He carried material, mixed pasta, learned every detail of the craft. "Dad, one day we'll have the biggest builder in town, and you'll be the boss and I'll be your partner." Partner. He had really become my partner, but not the way we dreamed when he was a teenager. I went back to the living room and had the coffee with Gabriel, pretending to be defeated. I needed him to continue to think I was an harmless old man. "Gabriel," I was thinking, "maybe you're right. Maybe I'm too old for these business things." His eyes shone. "Glad you are seeing this, Father. The Lord will see how it will be better that way. Without worry, without stress. I just wanted to understand one thing. You said you got money to buy those land. How did you get 800,000 reais? Gabriel took a sip of coffee and responded naturally. "We took a loan from the bank, Father. He used the company as a guarantee." My blood froze. "What do you mean they used the company as a guarantee?" "Calm down, Dad, it's normal. We mortgaged the company to get the land money. If we can't afford it, the bank is with the construction company." Mortgaged. My company. My entire life of work was hung in a debt of 800,000 Rs. What if you can't afford it? Gabriel shrugged. Then we declare bankruptcy and each one goes on. But it will not give a problem, father. We will build some buildings on the ground and will earn millions. Each word was like a stubble. They were not just stealing my company. They were betting everything in a risky play. And if you went wrong, I would lose everything I built in my life. Gabriel, did you think right about it? What if the business goes wrong? Father, you don't understand the real estate market. This is the right investment. You stay in yours. That we solve. When I left the house that afternoon, my head was boiling. It wasn't just a betrayal, it was a monumental stupidity. My children had mortgaged my whole company to make a high-risk investment. I went back to the hotel and started doing math. If they couldn't sell the properties they wanted to build, the debt would swallow everything. And by the way Gabriel said, they didn't even have a B plan. That night I decided to do something I had not done for a long time. I called my brother Carlos, who lived in Sao Paulo. Carlos was always more studied than me, worked a lifetime as an accountant. John? What a surprise, bro. How are you? Carlos, I need your help. A very serious thing happened here. I told him everything. The betrayal of the children, the false documents, the loan, the land. Carlos was silent for a long time. John, are you sure they did this? I have, Carlos. I saw the documents. Man, this is a crime. This is estelionato, falsification of document. Your children can go arrested for it. Reality fell on me like a bucket of fry water. My children were not just ungrateful, they were criminals. And there is one more thing, John. If they have borrowed using fake documents, it can jail for them. Bank doesn't play with these things. I hung up the phone with a tight heart. On the one hand, I had to prove my innocence and recover my company. On the other hand, this meant putting my own children in jail. I spent the whole night awake looking at the roof of the hotel. I remembered when their mother died and I promised her that she would always take care of the boys. How was I going to explain to her in the sky? I had to report my own children to the police. The next morning, I decided to take a walk around the city center to cool my head. That's when I saw something that made me stop in the middle of the sidewalk. In the showcase of a real estate, there were photos of the land my children had bought, but the announced price left me in shock. 1.2 million Rs. They had said they paid 800,000. I entered the real estate, pretending interest. Good morning. I wanted to know about those land in the center. Oh yes, excellent land, but unfortunately it has already been sold last week. How much were they sold? For the table price, 1.2 million. Buyers still tried to negotiate, but the owner has not agreed to lower a penny. I left the real estate with my head spinning. If the land cost 1.2 million, where did my children take the 400,000 Rs more? The loan they said they made was 800,000 only. The answer came as a lightning. They had used company money. Money that was not theirs. Money that was legally still mine. I ran back to the hotel and called Carlos again. Carlos, I discovered one more thing. They not only falsified my signature, they stole money from the company. What do you mean, John? I explained about the price difference. Carlos whistled on the other end of the line. Mono, now complicated for them. This is misappropriation, document falsification, estelionate. Your children are moved in serious criminal confusion. What do I do, Carlos? You have two options, John. Either you go to the police now and denounce everything, or you try to talk to them and solve to family. But if you choose the second option and they don't return everything, you'll lose your business. I hung up the phone and sat on the hotel bed. The document I had kept proved that I still owned the company, but using this document meant destroying the lives of my children. I stayed there holding that roll when my cell phone rang. It was a number I didn't know. Hello? You're John? Here is Ademir, from Banco Progreso. Could you go here today? I need to talk to you about your business account. My heart fired. What kind of conversation, Ademir? It's about the loan that was made yesterday. An irregularity in the documentation appeared. Can you come today yet? Loan made yesterday? But Gabriel had said the loan had been approved for weeks. I'm going there now. When I arrived at the bank, Ademir received me with worried face. You're John. Did you sign authorization for a loan of 1.5 million Rs yesterday? My world collapsed again. No, I didn't sign anything. So we have a serious problem here. Someone has falsified your signature to get a 1.5 million loan using your business as warranty. 1.5 million. They had not just made a loan. They had done two, and I discovered it all by chance. Ademir, I need to see these documents. When he showed the papers, my suspicion was confirmed. The signature was like mine, but it wasn't mine, and the date showed that it had been done the day before while I was in the hotel. You're John, this is very serious. I'll have to communicate to the police. Wait, Ademir. Give me 24 hours to solve this in family first. He agreed, but made it clear. 24 hours, you John. After that, I am forced to make the police report. I left the bench with my legs. My children had not made just one blow. They were doing several. And apparently they didn't intend to stop. Now I was sure they were not just stealing my company. They were preparing me to be the scapegoat of a millionaire fraud. I left the bench with my legs shaking and my heart fired. 24 hours. It was all I had to prevent my own children from turning me into the guilty of a millionaire fraud. But I wasn't going to get arms crossed waiting for them to destroy me completely. I decided to do something I never thought I would do in my life, to investigate my own children as if they were criminals, because that's exactly what they were. First, I called Dona Conceição, our former secretary in the company. She had worked with us for 15 years before retiring last year. If anyone knew the financial movements of Construtora, it was her. "You're John. What a joy to hear your voice. How are you?" "Hi, Conceição. Listen, do I need your favor? Do you still have contact with someone inside the company?" "Yes, I have. Rosana, who entered my place, is my comadre." "Why?" "Conceição, something very serious happened. I need to know that financial movements have been made at the company in the last 3 months." There was a break from the other end of the line. "You're John. Are you having a problem with the boys?" "I'm Conceição, and it's serious. Leave me. I'll call Rosana now and return you." While waiting for Conceição's connection, I decided to do something else. To visit the registry where I was supposed to transfer my quotas. If I could prove that the signature was false, there was more evidence against them. In the notary's office, the notary welcomed me with sympathy. "You, John, how are you? It came to do some more document?" "In fact, Dr. Sandra, I came to check that transfer of quotas that was made last month. Can I see the documents?" "Sure, let me get here." When she brought the papers, my heart almost stopped. The signature really looked like mine, but I could see small differences. The letter J of my name was different, and my rubric didn't have that curve at the end. "Dr. Sandra, this signature is not mine." She looked at me amazed. "What do you mean, you John? This signature was falsified. I never signed these documents." Her face was pale. "My God, but your son Gabriel brought me the documents in person. He said that the Lord was in health problem and so could not come." Gabriel had lied to the notary. I had invented that I was sick to justify my absence. "Doctor, can you give me a copy of these documents? And you remember if he came alone?" "He came with his wife, Patricia. They even brought their documents from the Lord to prove identity." "My documents. They had taken my documents to facilitate forgery. Can you give me these urgent copies? It's very important." "Of course, you John, but this is very serious. Public document forgery is a crime." When I left the registry with the copies in hand, my cell phone rang. It was Conceição. "So, John, I talked to Rosana. The things she told me are very worrying." "Speak, Conceição." "In the last 2 months, more than 2 million from the company's account have come. There were several transfers, always authorized by Gabriel or Marcos. 2 million. My children had diverted 2 million reais from the company. There's more, you John. Rosana said they made her sign some papers saying they were to the accountant, but she found it strange because they were documents from the bank." "What kind of documents?" "Authorization for loans. They made the poor signing as a witness to several banking operations." Now I understood the full scheme. Not only had they falsified my signature, but they had also used innocent employees as witnesses of their crimes. "Conceição, Rosana Top would talk to me. She's afraid, you João." The boys warned that anyone leaking information from the company was going to be sued. Threats. They were intimidating employees to keep the scheme secret. "Tell her that I'm the real owner of the company, and I need her to prove the truth. I'll try to convince you, John, but she's terrified." I hung up the phone and decided to take a more drastic attitude. I went straight to the company's office. It was late Friday afternoon. Probably no one would have there. I used my key to enter. The office was dark and quiet. I went straight to the file where we kept all the important documents. It was there that I found the bomb. In a folder marked as confidential, not moving, there were dozens of documents I had never seen. Loan contracts, bank authorizations, property transfers, all with my falsified signature. But the worst was yet to come. At the bottom of the folder I found a document that made me feel nausea. A sales contract from the entire company to a São Paulo construction company for 3 million reais, signed by me, or rather, signed by someone pretending to be me. They were not just stealing money from the company, they were planning to sell everything and disappear with the money, and the date of the contract made me panic. Monday. From then on, 4 days. I photographed all the documents with my cell phone, put the copies on my shirt, and quickly left the office. My head was on fire trying to process so much information. On the way back to the hotel, I stopped in a small bar to try to organize thoughts. I ordered a beer and stayed there looking at the photos on the phone. These were enough crimes to put my children in jail for decades. That's when I felt a hand on my shoulder. "Father, what are you doing here?" I turned and ran into Gabriel. My heart almost came out my mouth. "Gabriel, what a fright, son. I ask, "Are you okay?" It looks a little deducted. He sat on the table with me. His eyes were analyzing every movement of mine. Did he suspect that I had discovered anything? Son, I'm just processing everything that happened. You're right. I'm too old for these companies. Gabriel smiled, but there was coldness in that smile. I'm glad you understand, Father. It will be better for everyone. Gabriel, can I ask a question? Of course, Dad. Did you really get $800,000 on the bank to buy the land? His expression changed lightly. We got it, Father. Why the question? Just curiosity. It's a lot of money. You don't have to worry about it, Father. We have everything under control. Under control. As if stealing and falsifying documents were something controllable. And those documents I signed? The accountant has already regularized everything? Already, Dad. It's all right. You don't have to worry about paperwork anymore. At that moment his cell phone rang. Gabriel answered. Hello? Marcos? Calm. What? When? No. Don't say anything yet. I'm with the father here. Okay. Bye. When he hung up, his expression was tense. Any problem, son? No, Father. Just a few things from the work. But I realized he was lying. Something had happened, and by the tone of the call it was not a good thing. Gabriel, I'm going. I'm tired. Father, where are you staying? The question made me alert. Why did he want to know where I was staying? In a little pension there, no big deal. Don't you want to go home? For the little room, I said. No, son. I'm not ready for that. I left the bar with the feeling that Gabriel had gone there not by chance. He was following me. Or worse, he was checking if I was investigating something. At the hotel, I called my brother Carlos again. Carlos, the thing is worse than I imagined. They will sell the company Monday. What? How do you sell? I explained about the contract I found. Carlos was silent for a while. John, you need to go to the police tomorrow morning. This can't wait. I know, Carlos, but it's hard. It's my children. Man, your children are no longer their children when they decided to destroy you. They are not just stealing you, they are preparing their full ruin. That night I could barely sleep. Every noise in the hotel corridor made me jump out of bed. I felt as if it were being observed. On Saturday morning I took courage and called the police station. I made a meeting with the delegate for Monday morning. It would be a race against time. They wanted to sign the company's sale on Monday, and I needed to report them before that. But first I needed another proof. The definitive proof. I called Conceição again. Conceição, did you talk to Rosanna? I got it, you John. She stumbles to talk to the Lord, but has a condition. Which? She wants a guarantee that she won't lose her job and that there will be no problem with justice. You can tell her that I will protect her. She is a victim, not criminal. Okay, she'll meet the Lord today at 3 p.m. in Church Square, but she asked not to take anyone. At 3 p.m. I found Rosanna in the square. She was visibly nervous, looking everywhere. You're John, I'm very afraid. If they find out that I spoke to the Lord, Rosanna, calm down. They won't find out, and I promise you'll be fine. You're John, I didn't know I was doing wrong. They said it was just bureaucracy. I know, daughter. You were fooled like me. There's one thing I didn't tell Conceição. A very serious thing. He speaks. Yesterday, Gabriel told me to erase all the files from the company's computer. He said it was to organize everything. My blood froze. Delete everything? All financial records of the last 6 months. He said they were going to migrate to a new system, and they were erasing the evidence, destroying any trail of crimes. Rosanna, can you recover these files? Maybe. I backed up on a pen drive before erasing. I was afraid to do some bullshit. This girl had given me the most precious gift in the world, all the evidence of my children's crimes. Rosanna, where is this pen drive? It's hiding in my house. I can bring you tomorrow. Bring. And Rosanna, thank you very much. You're saving me. I returned to the hotel with a mixture of relief and anguish. I had all the tests I needed to destroy my children, but destroying my children meant destroying a part of myself. That night my cell phone rang. It was a number I didn't know. Hello, João Santos? It is me. Here is Inspector Silva of the Civil Police. You can pass his Gazia tomorrow morning? We received a very serious complaint about the Lord. My world collapsed once more. What kind of denunciation? The Lord was denounced by his children for misappropriation and falsification of documents. They claim that you stole money from the company and falsified your own signature to harm them. I couldn't believe it. My children had denounced me first. They had turned the game and now I was the criminal. Inspector, this is a lie. They are that. Lord John, you have the right to a lawyer. I recommend that you look for one before you come here. I hung up the phone with tremendous hands. They were not just criminals. They were geniuses of evil. And now, instead of denouncing them, it was they who were putting me as guilty of everything. My own children had just signed my death sentence. I spent Saturday night to sleepless Sunday walking around the hotel room like a caged animal. On Sunday morning at 7 a.m., my cell phone rang. It was Rosanna. You're John. Something happened. They found out from pen drive. My heart stopped. How did you find out? I don't know. But Gabriel called me last night asking if I had saved something before erasing the files. I denied it, but he didn't believe it. Rosanna, you are in danger. They are capable of anything. I know you, John. That's why I called early. I'll leave the pen drive in a safe place and warn you where it is. No, Rosanna. It's very risky. They may be following you. You're John. There's one thing I didn't tell you yesterday. I recorded a conversation between Gabriel and Marcos on Friday. My heart fired. What talk? They were arguing about the Lord. Gabriel said that if the Lord would discover something, they would find a way to intern the Lord in a psychiatric clinic. I felt the blood freeze in the veins. What do you mean to hospitalize? They have already talked to a doctor. They will claim that you have Alzheimer's and have outbreaks. That is why he has falsified his own documents. It was the perfect plan. If I denounced them, they would say I was crazy. If I proved that they falsified my signature, they would say I was the one who falsified because I was in mental problems. Rosanna, where is this recording? In the same pen drive. Your John finds me in the Church of Conceição in 1 hour. It's Sunday. There will be a lot of people they will not suspect. In the church, I pretended to be watching Mass while waiting for Rosanna. She arrived with her family like a normal person going to the service. During the moment of peace, she approached me. It's here, she said, discreetly putting the pen drive in my hand. And there is one more thing. They set up a meeting this afternoon at the company to sign the sale. There will be the buyer, their lawyer, everyone. What time? 3 hours. They think the Lord doesn't even know. I left the church with the pen drive burning in my hand. Now I had all the tests, but I needed someone to help me. I couldn't do that alone. I called my brother Carlos. Carlos, I need you to come here today. What happened, João? I got the tests of everything, but they will sell the company today and still want to hospitalize me like crazy. I need your help. I'm already leaving São Paulo. I get a noon. At 2 in the afternoon, Carlos and I were sitting in his car across the company's street, observing the movement. Several cars arrived. Men of suit lawyers, the buyer of the company. John, are you sure you want to do this? Since we get in there is no return. Carlos, they have already denounced me to the police. Tomorrow morning I will be arrested if you do nothing. It's now or never. Carlos handed me a small recorder. Record everything. It may be that we need it. At 3:15, I took a deep breath and joined the company. The reception was empty, but I could hear voices in the meeting room. I walked slowly, backed by the cane to the living room door. When I opened the door, the silence was total. At the table were Gabriel, Marcos, Patricia, a man of suit who should be the buyer, and 2 lawyers. Father? Gabriel got up, clearly nervous. What are you doing here? I came to my meeting, I said, entering the room and closing the door behind me. What a meeting, Father. The Lord was not invited to any meeting. I looked at the man in a suit. You must be the buyer of my company. The man looked at me confused. Your company? But isn't you the old partner who has been away? Away? I smiled. Who said I was away? Gabriel tried to intervene. Father, the Lord should not be here. The Lord may have an outbreak. A outbreak? I laughed loudly. How interesting you say that, Gabriel. I took the pen drive out of my pocket and put it on the table. Would you all like to hear a very interesting conversation that my children had on Friday? Gabriel Fee's face pale. Father, you are not well. We should call a doctor. Doctor? I connected the pen drive to the laptop that was on the table. Funny you say that. Let's hear what you planned for me. I squeezed play in the audio file. Gabriel's voice came clear from the speakers. If the old man finds out something, we'll have to fix it. What do you mean to find a way? It was Marcos's voice. Ink him in a clinic. I already talked to Dr. Moreira. For a money, he signs a report saying that his father is with Alzheimer's. The silence in the room was deafening. The buyer looked at me to my children, clearly confused. Keep listening, I said. What if he proves that the signature is false? Then we say it was he who falsified himself, that because of Alzheimer he doesn't remember things. Who will believe in an old madman? The buyer got up from the chair. What's this story? Did you bring me here to buy a stolen company? Mr. Antonio, let me explain. Gabriel tried to speak, but I interrupted him. You don't have to explain anything, Gabriel. I explain. I grabbed the documents I had copied from the notary and spread it on the table. These are the transfers of quotas that I supposedly signed. But this one, I showed my will. It is proof that any transfer without my presence in the notary is invalid. The buyer's lawyer analyzed the papers quickly. Mr. Antonio, we cannot proceed. There are clear irregularities here. Irregularities? I laughed bitterly. Doctor, this is called a crime. Document forgery, misappropriation, bank fraud. Marcos tried to get up. Father, you don't understand. We just wanted to protect the company. Protect stealing $2 million and falsifying my signature? I put another document on the table. These are the bank statements that show all the illegal transfers you have made. The buyer shook his head. This is absurd. I'm leaving here. Wait, Lord Antonio, shouted Gabriel. We can solve this. As? I asked. Internalizing me to force in a psychiatric clinic? Patricia finally said, John, to this drama, we only did what was best for everyone. What was better? My voice came out louder. Steal my company, destroy my life, prepare my forced hospitalization? I turned to the buyer. Mr. Antonio, do you want to know the truth? These two have taken fraudulent loans of more than $3 million using my company as a guarantee. If they can't afford it, the bank will execute everything. They wanted to sell to you and escape with the money before the debt's won. The lawyer confirmed. If this is true, Mr. Antonio, you would be buying a pledged company. Gabriel lost his composure. Father to it. You will destroy the whole family. Will I destroy the family? I shouted. You who falsified my signature. You who stole millions. You who wanted to intern me like crazy. Marcos tried one last card. Dad, we can share the money from the sale with you. 50% to each side. The proposal left me disgusted. Divide the money from my own company theft? Do you think I'm what? The buyer's lawyer got up. Mr. Antonio, we need to get out of here. This can give us a problem as well. When they were leaving, Gabriel made a last desperate attempt. Father, if you do that, we'll lose everything. The company will fail. The company will not go bankrupt, Gabriel. She will return to the hands of the true owner. And the debts? How will you pay loans? I smiled for the first time in days. With the sale of the land you have bought illegally, and processing you for all the damage. Patricia exploded. This is revenge. You are doing it for revenge. No, Patricia. This is called justice. When the buyer and the lawyers left, we were only 4 of us in the room. Gabriel and Marcos looked at me like I was a stranger. Father, what are you going to do now? Asked Marcos, his voice shaky. I will do what I should have done from the beginning. I go to the police with all these evidence. Father, for God's sake. Gabriel was almost crying. We are your family. You stopped being my family the moment you decided to steal me and humiliate me. I replied, keeping the documents in the folder. Are you really going to denounce us? Asked Marcos. I won't report you, I said, and saw relief on their faces for a second. You have already denounced. They recorded their own confessions, left traces on all banks, falsified documents in the notary's office. The relief became despair again. The only thing I'm going to do is deliver the evidence to the competent authorities. Gabriel punched the table. You can't do it with us. I can and go, just as VU did to me. I walked toward the door, but Patricia held me by the arm. John, think of your granddaughter. You'll destroy her future. I turned and looked into her eyes. Patricia, my granddaughter will learn a very important lesson, that stealing and humiliating the family has consequences. I left the company with a heavy but relieved heart. Outside, Carlos was waiting for me in the car. How it was. They confessed everything in front of witnesses. Now just wait for justice to do the rest. But when we were leaving the parking lot, I saw Gabriel running after the car and shouting, Dad, Dad, wait. Carlos stopped the car and Gabriel approached the window, panting. Dad, if you do this, we'll tell a different version to the police. We'll say it was the Lord who forced us to do it all, that you threatened us. I looked at my son and saw a stranger. Gabriel, you can invent how many stories you want. I have the recordings, the documents, the witnesses, but we have something that you don't have. He smiled cruelly. What? We have the death certificate of your wife, and some people may swear they saw you forcing her signature in company documents. The world turned around me. They were threatening to dirty the memory of my dead wife. You wouldn't dare. We would dare, yes, Father. If the Lord does not give up on this madness, we will prove that the Lord has been a forger for years. It was the last blow, the lowest of all, and I realized that the war was just starting. Gabriel's words echoed in my head like a nightmare. We will prove that you have been a forger for years. They were willing to destroy the memory of my dead wife to escape justice. I looked at that face that I created myself, that man who was once my baby crying in my arms, and felt a coldness that I never thought I could feel for a child. It was like looking at a stranger, a dangerous stranger. Gabriel, I said with a calm that surprised me, your mother has been dead for 8 years, and do you think they'll get her memory dirty to save your skin from your skin? If necessary, Father, if necessary, he repeated, but I realized a tremor in the voice. Even he knew he was crossing a line that should not be crossed. Carlos, from the driver's seat, shook his head in disbelief. John, let's go. This boy has completely lost the notion of what he is talking about. But I didn't move. I took off my cell phone slowly without taking my eyes off Gabriel. My fingers trembled, but not with fear. It was of a cold, controlled anger that I had never felt before. Delegate Silva, here is João Santos. I want to reschedule our conversation for now. I have all the tests I need. Gabriel was pale when he heard my firm voice on the phone. Father, you won't do that. We are blood of your blood. Blood of my blood? I laughed bitterly. Gabriel, blood of my blood does not steal. Blood of my blood does not humiliate. Blood of my blood does not threaten to profane the memory of his mother. Marcos appeared running from the company building. clearly desperate. Father, what's going on here? His brother has just threatened me to lie about his dead mother to escape the jail. Marcos looked at Gabriel with horror. Gabriel, you didn't say that. Yes, I said, and I'll talk more. If he denounces us, we destroy his reputation anyway. I will do. Yes, I said on the phone, ignoring the screams. And you know why? Because your mother taught me one thing. What a real family doesn't steal, don't lie, and not humiliate. You haven't been my family for a long time. I hung up the phone and looked at Gabriel one last time. And Gabriel, if you touch your mother's name, I will sue you for slander and defamation as well. She has living brothers who will witness against you, and you will have to explain to a judge why you invented lies about a dead woman. Gabriel backed away a step. For the first time, I saw real fear in his eyes. Dad, we can solve this. We can return everything. Return everything? I said, climbing the tone of voice. Gabriel, you stole $2 million, falsified my signature dozens of times, wanted to hospitalize me in a psychiatric clinic, and now threaten your mother's memory. And do you think to return everything resolves? Marcos tried to approach. Dad, calm down. Let's talk at home in family. In family? I laughed. Marcos, family is what we were one day. What you are now, I don't know what name to give. At the police station 2 hours later, I put all the evidence on the table of the delegate Silva, the counterfeit documents, the pen drive with the recordings, the bank statements, the photographs of the contracts, all organized in a folder. Delegate, here is proof that my children forged my signature. Steals ram more than $2 million from the company. They plan to hide me as crazy to cover up the crimes and even threaten to invent lies about my dead wife. Delegate Silva was an experienced man, about 50 years old, who had seen everything in his life. But when he began to analyze the material, his expression was changing gradually. Mr. João, in 25 years of police, I've seen a lot. But this here? He shook his head. This is an arsenal of evidence against their own children. I know, Delegate, and they still had the courage to report me first. About this, your situation is completely resolved. With these evidence, it is more than clear that their denunciation was a desperate attempt of defamation to cover up their own crimes. He continued to analyze the documents. This is misappropriation, falsification of public document, espionage against financial institution threat. Your children are troubled. And what happens now? Now I will issue pre-trial detention warrants to the three. They pose a risk of escape, especially considering the value involved. That same afternoon, I received a call that left me with my heart in my throat. He was a sergeant of the military police. Mr. João, here is Sergeant Oliveira. We managed to locate and arrest Gabriel Santos when he was trying to withdraw 50,000 reais at a bank branch in the center. And the others? Marcos Santos was arrested at the company, trying to delete files from the computer. Patricia Santos was arrested at her residence. When I learned that Gabriel had been arrested trying to withdraw more money, I felt a mixture of relief and sadness. Relief because justice was being done. Sadness because it was my son being taken handcuffed. But what marked me most was the call I received on Monday morning. It was my granddaughter crying so much that I could barely speak. Vô? Yeah. Is it true that my father and uncle are thieves? The heart squeezed so much that I thought it was going to have a heart attack. Daughter, your father and uncle did very wrong things. But that doesn't mean you're just like them. Grandpa, I'm sorry. I filmed you crying that Sunday. I didn't know they had stolen you. I thought it was just a family fight. It wasn't your fault, my granddaughter. You were just a child in the middle of all this. You couldn't know. Vô, can I go to live with you? My mother was arrested. My father was arrested. I have no one else. The neighbors looking at me as if I were criminal too. At that moment I understood that everything was not lost, that there was still innocence in that destroyed family, that there was still someone worth saving. Of course you can, my daughter. This house has always been yours too. On the first day she came to live with me, I found her crying in her father's room. What is it, daughter? Vô, I found it here. She showed me an old photo of ours when she was little. I was teaching her bike in the backyard. Why did they do this to the Lord? The Lord has always been so good for us. I sat on the bed next to her. Daughter, sometimes people get lost in the way. Your parents have gotten lost, but that doesn't erase the love they had for you, nor the love they had for me one day. But how can you have no hatred from them? Who said I have no hatred? I answered honestly. I have, but hatred is a poison that we take waiting for the other to die. I won't poison myself because of them. The trial happened 3 months later. The prosecution presented a case that left no doubt. The evidence was so clear that even the defense lawyers were even able to create a convincing alternative version. Throughout the process, they tried everything. First, they claimed that I had Alzheimer's and was confused, but the medical reports I made on my own proved that my mind was completely lucid. Then they tried to say that I was an authoritarian father who forced them to sign documents without reading. But the recordings where they planned to hide me, destroyed this version. Finally, they tried to claim that everything was a misunderstanding, that they just wanted to protect the company. But the 2 million diverted and the land illegally bought proved that it was really theft. Gabriel was sentenced to 8 years in prison for falsification of documents, misappropriation, and bank fraud. Marcos took 6 years for the same crimes. Patricia, 4 years as an accomplice and active participation in the scheme. When the sentence was read, I looked at my children on the defendants. Gabriel was crying like a child. Marcos looked at the floor, as if he wanted to hide from the world. Patricia shot me with her eyes as if I were to blame for all that situation. After the hearing, when they were being taken handcuffed, Gabriel managed to get closer to me. "Father, you got what you wanted. Are you happy now?" I looked into his eyes and saw the boy who once called me a hero. "Gabriel, I didn't want that. I wanted my children back. But you chose to be criminals instead of being my children. The Lord destroyed our family. No, son, you who destroyed. I only showed to the world what you really were. And our daughter? What will our daughter be?" For a moment I saw a shadow of the father that he had been one day. "Your daughter will grow up knowing the difference between right and wrong, something you forgot." The company was fully returned to me. The stolen money was recovered by selling the land they bought illegally. Fraudulent loans were canceled by the bank after proof of crimes. But the victory had bitter taste. I had recovered my company, my dignity, my home, but I had lost my children forever. The reconstruction was slow and painful, not only of the company, but of myself. My granddaughter was fundamental in this process. Gradually, she was telling me things I didn't know. "Grandpa, they said that you were going crazy, and that's why you could no longer take care of the company." "And did you believe, daughter?" "I was a child, Grandpa. I believed in everything my parents said, but I always found it strange because you never seemed sick to me. It was she who helped me rebuild not only the company but also my faith in the family. Not in the blood family that betrayed me, but in the family we choose to have by our side." Rosanna returned to work at the company, now as an administrative manager. Conceição came to visit us every Sunday bringing cakes and advice. Carlos has definitely moved to our city to help me touch the business. "John, you know you don't have to do that," he said on the day of change. "Do what?" "Receiving me with open arms after all that happened. I know it's hard to rely on family after what your children did. Carlos, you proved that it is a family when it came to help me when I needed it most. My children proved it wasn't when they stole me." A year later, the construction company was bigger than ever. Without unnecessary spending, without money diversions, and without irresponsible decisions, the company grew 300% in 12 months. We built a housing development for low-income families, making a dream that I had for decades. Seeing those families receiving the keys from his own houses filled me with a joy that I had not felt long ago. "Grandpa, are you crying?" asked my granddaughter on the day of delivery of the houses. "I'm crying for joy, daughter. This is what I always wanted to do with the company." "Why did the dads never want to do that?" "Because they only thought of money, daughter. They forgot that we work to be useful, not only to be rich." On the first anniversary of my children's arrest, my granddaughter asked me if I didn't miss them. "I miss the boys they were, daughter, not the men who became." "Do you regret having denounced them?" I thought for a long time before answering. It was a question that haunted me every night. "Daughter, if I had not done this, they would have continued to steal, lying, destroying other people. Sometimes love someone means showing the consequences of mistakes. But they were your family, Grandpa. Family is not the same blood as you, my granddaughter. Family is the one who respects you, loves you, protects you. Your parents stopped being my family on the day they decided to steal me and humiliate me. Can they get out of jail one day? They can, and when they leave, if they have learned the lesson, I will be here, but not as a naive father, as someone who has learned to protect themselves. 2 years later, I received a letter in prison. It was from Gabriel. My hand trembled when I saw his handwriting in the envelope. "Dad, I know you have no obligation to forgive me, but I wanted to say that I understood that the Lord was right. In prison, I had a lot of time to think. We really turned what we always criticized, people without character." The letter continued. "I remember the Lord working day and night to give us dignity, arriving home dirty cement, but always with a smile for us, and we returned stealing everything you built. I don't know if you can forgive me someday, but I wanted you to know that I regret everything we did." I cried reading that letter, not of sadness, but of relief. Perhaps there was still salvation for that boy who was once my son, the boy who called me a hero. I did not answer the letter immediately. It was not ready yet, but I kept her in a drawer, along with their childhood photos. Because forgiving does not mean forgetting, and forgetting does not mean relying blindly again. 3 months later, I received another letter, this time Marcos. "Father, Gabriel told me that he wrote to the Lord. It's wanted to apologize. In prison, we met other prisoners who did things like their family, and seeing them, We understood how we get monstrous. Marcos has always been the most emotional of the two. His letter was longer, more detailed. I remember when the Lord took me to see that work that was going to last 6 months. The Lord said, "Son, this will be our greatest achievement." And it was. But we destroyed everything for greed. We lost our father, we lost the company, we lost dignity. The reference to my granddaughter touched me deeply, because really, she had suffered a lot from that situation. 6 months later, I decided to answer the letters. Not a long or emotional letter, just a few lines. Gabriel and Marcos, I received your letters. It's good to know that you are reflecting on the mistakes. When you leave, if we really changed, we talk. But know that confidence is over again. Your daughter is fine and growing up with dignity. Today, at 63, I wake up every morning at my house, my bed, owner of my company, and my dignity. My granddaughter is in college studying administration for one day to take over the construction company. She wants to continue the legacy, but the right way. Vo, when I take over the company, can I change my name? What, daughter? For João Santos and Neda, she laughed. Or for the construction company Dignity. Dignity Construtora, I liked it. Sometimes people ask me if I regret having destroyed my own children, and I always answer the same thing. I didn't destroy anyone. I just showed who they really were. The construction company changed its name. Now is João Santos and Family, because real family is the one who chooses to be by your side when everything crumbles, not who pushes you when you are already falling. And every night before bed, I talk to my wife in the sky. I thank her for teaching me that dignity is not negotiated, what character does not sell, and that sometimes it is necessary to lose an entire family to save a single person. My granddaughter, the only one that really mattered, the only one worth all this pain, because in the end, it is not the blood that defines a family, it is love, respect, and loyalty, and that, my children had to learn in jail, but my granddaughter learned with me, and perhaps one day when they get out of prison she can teach them as well, because forgiving does not mean being silly, it means giving a second chance to those who really changed, and only time will tell if they really changed.